Okay, I'm here again. It's been a while. Told a friend I'd post something. I finally got set up in my new car. It's a new, same car. What happened to my old one is a story for a different day. But I replaced it with a fancy Marizo GR Corolla, and I love it. Anyway, what's on my mind right now is a concept of free will and whether or not we have it. And I think I've got my current thoughts around it kind of boiled down to thoughts. Free will, I think, comes down to choice, whether or not we have a choice to determine our actions. So, um, what is a choice? I think a choice is pretty simply put an option, and a what determines our action is making a decision. And what is a decision? And I think a decision is simply a thought that dictates action. But the distinction there is that a decision is essentially a thought. And then so where my mind goes is, well, what is a thought? And are we creating our thoughts or are we experiencing them? And are we, what is actually a thought? I think, from a physical realm, a thought is just electrical signals firing in our brain. And so are we creating that? And what does it mean for us to create it? Like, what is the we that is creating it? And then you're kind of talking about, what are we? Are we the observer? And I think where I stand right now is that we experience our thoughts. I'm not convinced that we create them. And I think the thoughts that we experience are determined by our environment. And when it comes to making choices, we have this experience of considering the thoughts, like addressing all of our thoughts, and then choosing one that feels right based on whatever criteria we have for what right and wrong is, which is also determined by whatever exposure we've had, what we've been taught, our upbringing, um, whatever has influenced our beliefs. And if you trace exposure all the way back to birth, or even before birth, being in the womb, like everything we've experienced we had zero control over our experience at a young age, had no control over where we were born, what we were exposed to as a child, and the things that we were exposed to influenced our beliefs, and our beliefs influence our thoughts and our thought behavior, and ultimately our choices. So we have this feeling of making a decision, but if you trace back the source of that decision, doesn't it go all the way back to what we were exposed to as a kid? And then from there on, what we were exposed to on the internet or our friends, essentially just our environment, right? So if you want to go to what is happening right now, how we're making decisions on a daily basis, is it not influenced by the things that were out of our control way in our history? If you want to even go further back, we were influenced by our parents, who were influenced by their parents. It goes all the way back to the beginning of time, right? And I'm not high right now, right? But this is the kind of conversation that, it goes back to the idea that your destiny was set the moment you're born. And it almost, from this point of view, was set at the beginning of time. Now, I don't really believe that there was a plan, per se, but it does kind of feel like there is an argument to be made that we don't have a choice. We have this experience of choice. But really we are mostly or wholly along for the ride, even though the experience is that we have control. All that said, it really does feel like we have the ability to influence our future, whether or not that is an experience that is objective or true. I don't really know. That's why I think these kind of questions are fun, is because can you really prove against these theories? Probably. I don't know, actually. I'm not that far down the rabbit hole. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. But yeah, I don't know. Just something to think about. Do you have free will? Do you feel like you get to determine your own future? Or is your future determined by your environment? I don't know. What do you think?